Welcome back, aspirants. Let's get right into today's explainer on Rungta IAS Academy's channel.
Absolutely. Grab your notebooks, everyone. Today, we're doing a rapid-fire GS3 masterclass, and we're looking really closely at internal security and grassroots governance in the Bastar region.
So, let's start with a massive analytical hook. Think about this as a potential 10-marker in your mains exam. India is Maoist-free, but is Bastar truly at peace?
Right, and as UPSC aspirants, you've got to understand the nuance here. Just because the bullets have stopped flying, what we call negative peace, doesn't automatically mean we've achieved positive peace on the ground.
Exactly. Which brings us to our first section, Beyond Maoism and Bastar's New Reality. To really grasp this, we need to contextualize the Union Home Minister's recent press conference in Jagdalpur.
You really need to pay attention to the official timeline here. India was declared Maoist-free in March 2026, but the target for the overall welfare and integration of Bastar's Adivasis, that's pushed all the way out to 2031. Note this down for your mains answers. Insurgencies don't just have an expiry date. Sustaining peace is a continuous, uphill process.
And a huge part of that process is governance. The Constitution envisions two parallel channels working together. You have the elected grassroots bodies, like the Gram Sabha, and then the appointed officials, like district collectors. But here's the rub. The structural friction on the ground is that the government-appointed channel almost always heavily overshadows the elected grassroots one.
Which naturally leads us right into our next section, Jal, Jungle, and Zameen. Because this friction directly impacts the very foundation of whether the Adivasi population actually trusts the state.
Look, building new roads and setting up mobile towers is great. It undeniably improves the ease of living. But if you want true, lasting trust, that relies completely on securing their core rights. We're talking about Jal, Jungle, and Zameen, meaning water, forest, and land.
But here is the critical gap. When the government recently briefed the public on its blueprints for future initiatives, they completely omitted the most crucial structural piece of the puzzle, the grassroots governance that is literally guaranteed by our Constitution.
Because of that glaring gap, let's move to our next section, the PESA Act and grassroots power. Aspirants, listen up, because this is where your GS2 and GS3 syllabi overlap beautifully.
The PESA Act of 1996 is the primary constitutional shield for Adivasis. It elevates the Gram Sabha to the absolute cornerstone of local self-governance. It's quite simple. Security forces might have achieved tactical victories, but the state is now going to be tested on justice delivery, and that means implementing PESA in letter and spirit to protect Adivasi identity.
I'm going to give you a golden analytical keyword for your mains right now, the debate between consent and consultation. You see, state governments often try to find loopholes to bypass the Gram Sabha's authority. Take the Chhattisgarh government's 2022 proposal. They tried to amend the rules to replace the word consent with consultation. It sounds like just semantics, right? But it's not. That one-word change effectively strips away the Gram Sabha's veto power and completely undermines the very soul of PESA.
Exactly. And aspirants, you must be extremely critical of this gap between policy intent and ground reality. Across India's fifth schedule areas, PESA's implementation has been pretty dismal. There are multiple alleged instances where Gram Sabha resolutions and consent records were just completely fabricated with malified intent. If you're asked to critically analyze tribal welfare schemes, you absolutely must highlight these implementation gaps.
Okay, let's tie all of this together in our final section, GS3 and interview strategy. Let's build a high-scoring conclusion for your exams and your personality test.
Your core argument should be this: the only path forward is genuinely participatory governance. We have to uphold these constitutional guarantees if we ever want to allay the lingering doubts of the Adivasi communities and actually rebuild that broken trust.
So, we'll leave you with a quick interview board simulation. Imagine you're sitting in the hot seat, and the panel asks you, how exactly should the state define this mainstream that it keeps trying to integrate Adivasis into? Sir, your answer needs to be firmly rooted in the Constitution. You argue that through participatory governance, the state shouldn't be rigidly imposing any definition from the top down. Instead, Adivasis must be empowered and given the agency to define this mainstream for themselves. Think deeply on that one, aspirants. Keep your preparation sharp, and we'll see you in the next masterclass.